Brenda J. Lilly here with the Bridge Artistic Network. I wanted to put out a small disclaimer before we launch into today's video. I am not a licensed therapist. I am just a fellow creative artist who hopes to encourage, engage, and hopefully empower other creative artists to go out and live their art dream. Okay, here we go into today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Well, good Monday morning, everybody. Brenda J. Lilly here, and it is time for another Monday morning kickstart with me and the Bridge Artistic Network. I hope you're ready for a good video. I know I am. If you like it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, share it with those you know so that we can all keep on becoming who we were created to be. All right, on with the video. I'll see you on the flip side. Good Monday morning, everybody. Brenda J. Lilly here with the Bridge Artistic Network. It is Monday, November 3rd, if you can believe it. This year has flown by. But here we are in the month of November. And I want to talk about, which is why I have a big old cup of coffee, a little thing called core values. Now, this isn't my idea. This came up in a training a couple weeks ago. And the leader said something that was completely logical and at the same time extremely deep and necessary. And it made me stop and take stock of my life and what it is I'm doing. And that little thing was called core values. He said, you won't know what to do or how to do it. You won't know what it is you're supposed to be doing, what it is you should put your time, attention, and talents into, unless you know what you value. What are your core values? What are your core beliefs and values? If you don't know those things, then you'll just say yes to everything, and you'll be a whirling dervish in this world. And I want to say that there is a lot of chaos in this world right now. And I have a feeling that some of it, not all, but some of it is due to the fact that we don't know as human beings what it is we value. What are our must haves? What is it that makes us go, yes, I need to be on about that? If you don't know that, how can you commit to anything really? And we have a huge commitment issue in this country, in this world right now. There was a massive spirit of apathy that came on the world, and the people in it, sort of starting in the late 80s, 90s, through the early 2000s. Now people are starting to wake up a little bit and realize there are things that they need to talk about, to speak about, to do for and with themselves and each other to make a better society, to make a better whatever, to have a better day. But if you haven't taken any time to think about what is it at my core that makes me go, yeah, I need that. That's a must have. You know, for me, God is a must have. He's the top. He's the first thing. I need to have a relationship with him. I need to pray. I need to spend time with him, both in the word of God and also with him in prayer and meditation time. If I don't have that, my day is not set up well. My life is not set up well. And I can tell you that's the truth because for a lot of years, I didn't have any relationship with him. And I was mean spirited, and I was a whole lot of other things that I won't talk about right now. But I can tell you it wasn't pleasant. I'm not saying I'm perfect now because I am far from it. But I can tell you that because I do know him, I know I need him in my life. He is a core value and belief for me. And I know that most of you understand that because you know I'm a pastor. So that makes sense, right? If I didn't have that as a core belief and the top of my, on the number one position, why am I pastor? Doesn't really make much sense. But then what are the other things? Like, okay, check, that's in. Community is one of my values, something I value highly. Art, obviously, artistic expression, quiet time. I mean, there is a lot. There are a lot of values that I have. And because I know my values, because I know how I function as a human being and how I want to function as a human being, those are two different things. How I function, how I want to function. In other words, this is how I function. I want to grow to this. Your values, knowing your core values, knowing your core beliefs, knowing what it is your yeses need to be, help you go from this to that. But if you've never put any time or attention to that thought process, figuring out what it is you value, I think you're just in survival mode. You're just going from day to day to day, and you're not really paying attention to your spirit. And look, you may have great success doing that. I'm not saying that you can't be successful without it. But I can say that without it, even if you have success, it's not as fulfilling necessarily as it could be. Your life, you're whirling and spinning and you're doing all this stuff. You're succeeding, you're having a level of success, and still there's emptiness. I can tell you that that's a truth because I lived that. I can tell you that's a truth because I watched people around me who were getting Tony Awards and Emmy Awards and all sorts of accolades. And still, something was missing. And it comes down to understanding at your very core what it is you value. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because this does not have to be something that you only start to understand in your adulthood. You can put a little time and attention to it when you're younger, especially teenagers. Teenagers should be doing this kind of core value work. Absolutely. So they know this is what I value right now. Doesn't mean it always stays of value because we are constantly growing, constantly changing. And something that I valued at the age of 20 is not going to be necessarily something that I continue to value at the age of 56. You know, I'm a different human being now than I was then, and that's the way life is, and that's truth. And it's great and it's okay because growth is absolutely necessary. I would not want to go back to my 20s for any reason. Zero reasons. Zero. The truth is, I'm happy being who I am now, doing what I'm doing now, fulfilled doing all of those things. Even though my life is shockingly so much more simple now than it ever was. And that's because I've done this work now. I've done this core value work now. I know what it is my hands should be doing. I know what my focus needs to be. Now, I don't always win. Excuse me. Sometimes I get pulled off focus. Sometimes I get rattled by the things going on all around me. But because I know my values, because I know my belief system, I can always find my way back to center. If I didn't, and I was living in this world right here, right now, I would be spinning like a top, having zero clue where my foundation is and how anything was going to be okay. And I think I would be in a panic. Who wants to live there? So, if you want to get to a space where you can just understand that things are out of control, not right, not okay, those are the circumstances. But they don't have to shift how you live your life, find your joy. If you need to put and pour some of your attention into being a part of the solution, great, good. Then that becomes one of your values. Each and every one of us has different values and different reasons for them. And different isn't wrong, different is just different. And I applaud you for doing some of this work. I applaud you for looking at yourself more deeply and doing some self evaluation so that you don't have to be a whirling dervish and the world's chaos doesn't have to become your chaos. There is a way to stay centered and focused and do your part. Be on about what you're supposed to be on about. Not what everybody else is supposed to be on about, not what the television tells you're supposed to be on about, not what any person in the public tells you you're supposed to be on about, but what you know because of the work you've done trying to figure out what it is your core values and beliefs are. Because you've done that work, you now know how you can move forward and be the beam of light that you were created to be in the middle of all of this noise and chaos. All right, that's all I have for us today. It's not a very long video. It is a deep subject. If you want to know more about core value work, you can find um, free worksheets online and just start answering some questions. You know, I highly recommend talking to a life coach. I really do. I highly recommend it. And they should take you through the values work because without doing your values work, like what it is that yeah, what we've just been talking about, they won't know how to coach you properly. So find a good coach. All right. I love you. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy this month of November. I'm pretty sure it's going to go by really quickly if it's like any other month of this year. I will see you next Monday. Be blessed as you go. Hey, just a little PS on this video. The class I took was a leadership class for my church. And so we were focused on core values for the church. And we broke up into small groups. There were about 20 of us there. And I can tell you, it was a 2-hour class, and we're going to have probably another 2-hour class on this. So this is not a small thing. And what this video does just scratches the surface of this work. So understand that there are deep dives that you can do in this, and it's wonderful work. I think it's more wonderful when you have somebody to talk about it with, but it is wonderful work to do for yourself and for your family and for the organizations you work with, whatever. It's good work. So, 2 thumbs way up on value work. But just know that you can take hours on this stuff. Be ready. Be ready. It's exciting. All right. That's all. Have a great week. Hey, thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? All right. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.